Men of Reddit, how often do you say I love you to your partner? My boyfriend and I have an ongoing argument about what the standard is for people to say I love you in a long-term committed relationship 1 year plus. How often do you say I love you to your so? And what do you think is a realistic or average frequency of saying it? Don't exactly count. Multiple times a day every day. Every day. Multiple times a day. I dunno what a normal frequency is. I'm not listening to other couples' private conversation. Usually once a day. When I get to work, I tell her I'm there safely and I love her. I expect the same. I also grew up in a household that said, even if you're angry, always say goodbye and I love you. You never know if it's the last time you do so. Multiple times a day. Been married 21 years and still mean it, every time. Usually whenever I'm ending the conversation or leaving. Sometimes I'll forget I said it and say it twice. Or 3 times if I'm being particularly neurotic. All the time. Starting first thing in the morning. She doesn't use an alarm. When it's time to wake up I go back in the room. Lie down on the bed. Good morning baby. I love you. Time to wake up. 30 years. I tell my wife I love her probably 10 times a day. We both work from home and see each other a bunch. Between Zooms. I tell my kids a bunch too. I bellow out I love you family probably 3 or 4 times a day. More on weekends. Frequently. A true I love you is more like a feeling. I just know when it feels right to say it. And in a good relationship, it frequently feels right. Once a year, under duress of the full moon, when being choked with jellyfish tentacles thumbs up. Wow. Pretty much everyone saying daily or many times a day. I guess I'll join the almost never. Verbally crew. Wife and I have been together 30 years. We focus on showing it. And when we say it, it's coming from a place of strong emotion. Of really feeling it in that moment. It's been a thought-provoking question. Though I'm gonna try an experiment and try saying it a lot more daily. And see if it starts to feel worn out or repetitive. Frequently every day. Most notably at the end of phone calls. When one of us is leaving home. When we go to bed as we shut the lights off to sleep. And just randomly. Constantly. I also ask her most nights if she feels loved, respected, cared for, safe, valued, and connected with me. If she ever says no, I ask her what I can do to change it. She hasn't said no yet and it's been a year of asking her. Multiple times a day every day. At the possibility of any moment being one's potential last, there's never a time wasted telling my wife I love her. I would tell the ex I love you and he would say, you said that already. Well, he was a dick so I should have gotten the hint. Been with my so for 4 years. He tells me he loves me anytime he's around. It feels amazing to feel loved. 15 years together, 10 years married. Always once at night. That's about it. I don't need the validation nor does she. When she needs me I'm there and vice versa. But we were never really the lovey-dovey type. My so and I don't say it at all. We're more about showing each other love, although only behind closed doors. Many times every day. When I have a partner. Multiple times per day. Pretty much whenever I think about it. Which is a lot. If one of you feels like it's not enough, tell them this is how you feel loved. Like hearing it. Maybe you know they love you. But that doesn't mean it feels less good to hear it. Multiple times a day. Anytime we end a phone call. Anytime either of us is leaving the house while other stays behind, and I have 2 kids very active in sports. So this alone is usually several times a day. If I leave the room after we had a conversation. And I have ADHD. So anytime I go to tell her something and forget by the time I get there. My standard response is oh shoot. I forget what I was going to say. I love you. So probably somewhere between 1575 times a day? x3 if you count the times I say it to my kids. Me and my wife have reached the point where we no longer need to say it. We both know it. We see it in each other's eyes and feel it our touch. So we may say it out loud only few times a year. Maybe it's an USA thing. I say it only when she does first. It would be stating the obvious and a bit much maybe. Cultural differences per country probably. I have been married 18 years together for 23. I am 36. I say it every time I leave the house and every time I hang up the phone. As someone who's witnessed a lot of death, I always say it. When we're not together as you never KO when it'll be your last time. Often, IDK 6 day? We call each other 10 times a day for odd things and say it every time we get off the phone. I'm gonna say 20-25 times overall. Every day. Now how many times every day? I couldn't tell you. My wife tells me she loves me often. Too. Every day several times throughout the day. After being in a couple of long-term relationships, I realized that the more I say it, the more it loses its meaning. So I advise couples to say it as little as possible, and turn your words into actions instead. Every time I leave the house or end the phone call with her. Also many times a day. Always when I put my book down and turn off my light to go to sleep. Apparently. I've even repeated good night. I love you in my sleep shortly after I've dozed off. Multiple times a day. Regardless of if they're with me. It's an amalgamation of all the little things she does to make my life brighter. Every day. Maybe a few times a day. Married 7 years last Monday. Together 10 years. Multiple times per day on a daily basis. Usually a couple times a day at least. 3.5 years to the relationship. Maybe 10x. Before we get out of bed. Then a few more before lunch. Then a couple more during evening cuddles. Then a few more during after evening activities. Then a couple more just to be sure of it before bed. Near daily. Except for the evening activities. Those happen just a couple times a week. At least every day. 9 years in and every day, mostly ending phone calls or going to bed. Several times a day, every day. Wifey and I both work from home, so we're together a lot. Every day, it feels good to say it and to hear it, so why not? 93.6 times a day. Daily. Couldn't say the exact number but a floor of once. No idea. Too many to count. Multiple times a day. Multiple times a day. Without fail. We are both madly in love with each other. A few times every day in the few languages we each speak. Every day. Minimum one a day. Multiple times every day. Every day when we're going to work. Before sleep and sometimes out of nowhere when we are just hanging out. Both do the same. BTW. 10 years together and we're still in love. I think I can say I hit the jackpot with this one. Several times a day in text and person. But everyone is different and there's no right or wrong or set frequency to say it. I know very happy couples that say it 1-2 times a week. They say they don't need to because they show it. Some people want to hear it. Every day, usually multiple times. All the time. Every day multiple times a day. Was raised that way in my own family and basically continue to this day. I say it all the time. I love saying I love her. Fuck, I am gonna go say it again right now. Every day. Usually a few times a day. Every day. From each of us. It sort of just flows into the conversation honestly.